afternoon, good evening, good whatever time of day it is. Thank you for tuning in to Conversations with Dr. Don. Tonight you have a real treat in Sonia Justice. We'll be talking about the obesity epidemic and treatment options. For your first-time viewers, Conversations with Dr. Don is an ongoing series of one-hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people like most of you out there about who they are as unique, one-of-a-kind individuals and about whatever it is that we've decided to talk about. And we'll be talking about obesity and related subjects. And your bio and your resume is just terrific. You've got so much stuff behind you. You look so young. You couldn't have done all those things in those what you got in your bio. But I've got to ask you some questions about that, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
How are you feeling now?
I'm feeling great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me here.
I'm very glad to have you. And you had a little difficulty getting here because of
I
car
know, my car
problem,
would
huh?
not start. It's just the most horrible thing. In the summer, sometime in May, the car kept stopping, and it wouldn't hold the charge. So I took it into the shop, and they said it was the alternator, and of course they found a few other things, as always. We went ahead and would fix that, and it's only October now, and I'm having the exact same problem.
But anyhow, you rented a car and you got here in time. So we're okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes my guests are kind of nervous, but then I'm proud to say within about 5 minutes, they're not nervous anymore.
Okay.
But I continue to be nervous. All right, as you know, the show goes into two major segments. The first one half I call the bio segment of Who Are You? So the viewers get an idea where you're coming from when you talk about what you've done in your life, what you're doing, and your interest in that sort of a thing.
Okay.
The background. The second part, we'll be talking about obesity and anything related to that and the epidemic. And I know a little about that as an interested citizen, but I'm sure you've got a lot more. And I've got a little heads up with a few of your charts so far, and I'm going to learn some more about obesity too. I've been close to it, but I'm pretty thin right now.
Oh, you had it before? You
No,
lost
I was
weight?
just too heavy. I was never obese, though, luckily.
Luckily.
So.
And we'll go into that, right? So we'll go into that. We'll explain to them the difference between just being too heavy and being obese.
Yes.
Yeah. Would that be good?
Of course.
Yeah.
That'd be fine. As you know, we mentioned before the show started, if I ask you a question that you don't care to answer, then you can say, I don't want to answer that, or I have nothing to say about that, or whatever. And we've talked a little ahead of time to be sure that I don't do that, but in case I do, well, you can slap me.
On TV, no.
So, okay.
That's going to be playing on YouTube over and over and over.
You know, we talked a little bit about my trick questions, and I'll ask you only one this evening. Can I ask you that trick question right now?
Oh, certainly.
Okay. If I were to ask your best friend, who is Sonia, what would your best friend say? Do it in the first person. Sonia is?
Sonia is, first of the pen name for Elsie Ekwa. Yeah, and it's a name that was created because when my parents passed, and I wanted to commemorate their memory. So my dad's name is actually Sonny Justin. And I took letters from my mother's name and put it together so to make the name more feminine. And this way they're always with me. But if my best friend should ask about who I am as a person, yeah? Yeah,
but then I want you to pretend that you're your best friend.
Okay.
And Sonia is what?
Oh.
Yeah, I wasn't clear with that.
I get it now.
Okay.
All right. Sonia is, she's very ambitious. And she...
Yeah, I can tell from your resume.
And she truly cares about helping the nursing profession with professional development and updating the image of nurses. So that's one of the things that Sonia is very, very passionate about. She's a terrific ICU nurse.
Terrific what?
ICU nurse.
ICU nurse. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
How
she
many
loves
years were
her
you in
patients.
ICU?
15 years.
15 years.
I know. I started in 98.
Okay. So let's move on.
Okay.
And is there anything significant about your racial, national, or cultural heritage that's worth commenting on? And maybe there isn't.
Just that your viewers probably wonder where my accent is from. So my heritage is West African, Cameroon. That's where my parents are from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And and one thing about Cameroon, we're huge on soccer.
soccer?
It's kind of a religion. They actually call it football.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of a religion there. The way football is to us over here during football season, but that's all year round over there.
Did you ever play soccer?
I did not get to play soccer. I played some volleyball,
Uh-huh.
but my brothers did. And my oldest brother did get to coach soccer. So
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have three brothers and two sisters. I had to think about that, but I have one sister passed, so my kid sister and I are just two girls now.
Are they in this country?
Some are in Africa, and others are here. So my oldest brother and my sister, so the oldest one and the youngest one are both on the East Coast.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I'm out here on the West.
You plan to stay in America?
Most likely. The things that I'm doing seem to demand that. Yeah.
It's very important what you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah, and I tell it
Thank
like it
you.
is.
Yeah, thank you.
Are you bilingual or multilingual?
Yes. Coming from Cameroon, Cameroon is bilingual.
Uh-huh.
So French and English are actually the official languages in Cameroon.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so you can get by in Cameroon if you want to be truly successful. That you can get by without knowing English, because that is it's kind of like Canada. You know,
Yes.
yes. So you have Quebec, which is French, and you have the rest of Canada's English, right?
Yes, yes.
So Quebec is the much it's a much smaller population, and that's in Cameroon is flipped over.
Uh-huh.
So you have maybe 20% that primarily English speaking, and because that part of Cameroon was colonized by England or United Kingdom. And then the other 80% is primarily French because of the colonization too.
Ah.
Yeah. So
How do you say I love you in French?
je t'aime.
Do you really mean it?
Sorry.
Yeah, that's it.
You got me.
I'm in divorce by way. I tricked you. See?
I just said on TV, je t'aime.
Interesting. All right. And say a little, you had so much to say in your bio about your education. Will you tell us in your own words about your formal education?
I started out in Pittsburgh. I went to nursing school there. I got an ADN from there. Then I moved on and I got my bachelor's because it is really important. That's the other thing that's important to me in nursing, finding a way to get education standardized, like the entry level into nursing. So it was important that I go ahead and get my bachelor's. And currently, I just took a hiatus now because of all the projects I have going at the same time. But yeah, studying a dual master's degree at Regis University in Colorado.
Regis University in Colorado. So all these projects you have going at the same time, can you tick those off in about 2 hours, because we don't have much time?
All the projects? About 2 hours? The show is not 2 hours long.
Watch it, I'm slick.
You're asleep. Yeah.
Say a few words about some of the projects you have going.
Okay, there are primarily 3 right now.
Primary what?
3 of them.
Yes,
So the first one is the magazine, Fabulous Nurse magazine.
Fabulous Nurse. Yeah. And
The
what's-
premier lifestyle magazine for nurses.
Lifestyle magazine for nurses. Yeah.
Right. But the content in it is actually, because the idea is I'm looking at nurses from a holistic point of view. So nurses are professionals. Once you're a nurse, always a nurse.
Yes.
But at the same time, we still come across the same things that everybody else in the population comes across, right? So we have health and wellness issues. We actually want professional development, and we want financial stability and all those different things. So the magazine actually addresses all of that. So it blends work and life.
How long have you been publishing this magazine?
So it started in December of 2010.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And it's successful.
The magazine's doing good. It's paying for itself.
Yeah. So that's one thing you got going. What's the other two things you got going?
I'm currently writing a book, the 25 Traits of Highly Effective Nurses.
25 traits of highly effective nurses. And you know what those are?
Of course, I am highly effective. I am good at what I do.
Oh, well, bet, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
25 traits. How did you arrive at these 25 traits? Are they out of your own experience, or you got some of this from other professionals who do the kind of work you do?
You know, 15 years in the industry, you learn a lot.
Yes.
I actually had 100 when I started.
Well.
And I realized that a lot of them could fall into, you know, maybe just 25 categories.
25 seems like a lot.
Yeah, I actually wanted to do 10 initially, but I had a hard time narrowing down the 100.
Sure.
And the reason why 25 seems like a lot is because I go beyond just character, and it goes beyond common sense. It's not what you'd be expecting. So I'm really excited about sharing it with everybody. Yeah.
How did you get the brain power to take on that kind of an ambitious project? How did you get so smart?
She asked my parents. It's genetics.
Yeah.
But thank you. I don't know about being that smart. There are lots of very, very smart nurses out there, all contributing to the industry.
Because of choosing that profession.
Yeah.
Where are your parents now?
In heaven.
Okay.
They both decided to climb Jacob's ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are the other projects you have going?
So the third one would be the television show, The Real Nurses Talk Show.
The Real Nurses?
Talk Show.
That's the title of it, The Real Nurses?
Right, and it's real with R-E-E-L as opposed to just the word real, so it's kind of a pun. Did you get it?
No, help me here. The Real Nurses, R-E-E-L.
Right, R-E-E-L.
Yeah.
And the idea is it's going to be hosted by a nurse, and all the experts on the show are going to be nurses. And it's something you've never seen on TV.
Clever, what?
Yeah.
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 So won't you be hosting it?
Of course, of course.
And you have other nurses on?
Yes, I'm working with the nursing associations in Washington and Oregon.
And you will be broadcasting, creating this show in the Portland community media, in the Portland area? And when will the first show be?
I don't have a date for you, but it'll be like in the middle of November.
In November.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to watch it, yeah. Will you have me on as a guest?
But of course.
No, I'm not
a
a
nurse.
No, I'm a clinical
We
psychologist.
just have to send you to school for nursing, and then you have a seat waiting for you.
I'm always curious about learning some more, especially anything to do with helping fellow human beings to appreciate their being alive and experiencing being and hanging out with fellow humans. Yeah.
Great.
And if
It's worthy.
Oh yeah. I see you get that look in your eye as you talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I get excited. I really want to make a difference, so I hope it does.
Make a difference. How so?
Like right now, we don't believe that in the majority of mentions of nurses in the media or even outside, you know, television and stuff, it's very appropriate, or it's very, we think a lot of it is demeaning to nurses. So one of the purposes of this show is for the general public to see nurses as nurses really are, experts in their own field, experts in things in healthcare. So
because now, for the most part, a lot of times, nurses are seen as just adjuncts or subordinate to the physician.
Exactly, and we're going to bust that myth.
Yeah, but you know, don't bust it too much because I just had a total knee replacement here about 4 months ago. And
You did?
yeah, and interesting, there's a whole difference from nurse to nurse, from nurse to nurse. I think I was in 4 or 5 days in the hospital. And there were 1 or 2 that were kind of touchy. But by and large, they were all just wonderful. And then there's 1 or 2 that were just way beyond what they needed to be as far as bedside manner and caring. So laying there helpless, full of my drugs, and watching how they're doing, taking care of me was quite interesting. So I learned some more about the nursing profession there.
I find that people like you who've had exposure know a lot more about what nurses do than anyone that's not been in the hospital, and that kind of makes sense because that's the media's, or it's their only source of information. And right now we're actually going on the streets and talking to people about what they think about nurses and what they think about. We've been getting some truly interesting responses. What do you think about physicians and the roles they too play in healthcare? So that should be coming up in one of the shows.
Who was doing the questioning and gathering the data?
I was doing the questioning because it was stuff we wanted on air. Well, myself and Adonia, she's absolutely wonderful, wonderful young lady that also does field production with me. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband? Or what is that you're waiting about? My God, what a big rock.
Yeah, but it's in a different finger. So, yeah, no, I'm not married.
Are you available?
Not really.
Don't believe her. You've got her email address.
Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, my goodness.
We've got you. Don't patch your mic because it doesn't work too well.
Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah. And how about any human beings that you knew in the past or that you know nowadays or that you particularly liked? Any fellow humans?
Any human? Well, I will have to say that someone that has influenced my perception of what I can do with the nursing industry has been Oprah Winfrey, actually. I truly admire. She's like my idol.
And what's her name?
Oprah.
Oprah.
I hope you know her.
Oh. Well, I think so. Oprah Winfrey, huh?
Yeah.
What is it about her that makes you admire her so much?
Well, she's somebody that puts her mind to something and she gets it done. And her work is in service to everybody.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that mission in life. It's something I want to emulate. And if you watch her shows, she's very empathetic. She cares about people. And that's something that, that a nurse can relate to because we care about people. So.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody recently, another meeting I attend regularly, about the difference between empathy and compassion. You know the difference between those two?
I know I'll try.
Of course.
You can correct me, it's all right.
I can't. I might have a different opinion, but I can't correct you on that one.
Well, I think both of them has to do with caring about the other person and what's happening to the other person. But I think empathy takes it a little further. Empathy, you're pretty much putting yourself in their place and truly seeing their point of view from where they are coming. You're just not saying, I feel for you. You truly feel for them. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
How would you define it?
Empathy, I think, is a precursor to compassion.
You think so? I flipped it around.
Yeah, and I've talked to a few other people who flip it around too from my point of view. I need somehow, whether I'm consciously aware of my mental process, and as you and I are talking, and you're talking about how something hurt you so badly when you were 9 years old, then if I can relate to some event in my life where I had what I thought was a similar pain, then that's an empathetic connection.
Exactly.
It's beyond what's going on with the cortex. It's
Right.
a feeling that goes on between us.
Exactly.
But then compassion goes a step further in that I want to behave toward you and other human beings in a way that prevents or lessens that feeling that you have that you don't want to have anymore. And I'm having a little difficulty dealing with it, the difference between the two, but it's an interesting consideration.
And people use it interchange. People interchange it all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
But if I'm talking to you and I'm telling you about something that happened to me that really, when my mother died, for example, and I start telling you about it, and after I'm into it pretty good, I can see and sense that you are really feeling, however minimally, rather than simply processing and saying, oh, it must have hurt, it must have been sad. But if you're really empathetic, then you're with me. And then you're loving me.
Right,
when
exactly.
Your capacity. And the bedside manner, that plays a lot too. And now I'm talking about your profession.
Right, I noticed. Great segue.
Yeah. So there was a comment that you had before where you talked about in your resume about a double minority. What's a double minority?
Women are minorities,
yes,
and blacks are minorities, and I'm both.
I thought so. I thought so. I wanted to check that out, yeah.
Yeah.
You've been in America for quite a while.
Okay.
And you probably have some impression about what's right or what's wrong with America. Do you hazard?
What's right or wrong with America?
Yes.
I'll try not to do that.
And you don't have to. For me, I can talk. I've been doing this for a long time, and I have some opinions about what's right with America and what's wrong with America. So any thoughts come to mind with what's right with America? Any one or two things that you find particularly right with America, considering America and other countries and other cultures? What's right with America?
I think I'd want to look at it maybe from the access to health care. Compared to Cameroon, I think people have more access to health care. I mean, granted,
in this country?
In America,
yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. But the other thing I did find, though, is that the nuclear family unit, or I should say the extended family unit, is not as emphasized in different pockets of population in the U.S. as you would expect. And I think that's a Western thing.
Yes.
Most non-Western cultures have wide extended family, and they all, come together when something happens. And I see in the hospital that difference. When somebody's, say for example, in the Hispanic community, if someone gets sick, the mother, the grandmother, everybody shows up to support you and care for you and pray with you. You see that in other cultures that from outside the U.S. Well, I shouldn't say from outside the U.S. because I assume all cultures are from outside the U.S. except the Native Americans, but that are non-Western. But then I find that the Western culture is not as much, and that's really different. Yeah, I think that there's a lot we could do to encourage that. Yeah.
Encourage
more
family
support. Absolutely.
So in Cameroon, it isn't the same.
It's a little too much, so.
Too much, so too much.
There are extremes. We're on the other extreme, and America's on the other extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah, people get a little too codependent in the extended families. Yeah. But it is good to know that you're not going to be on the street if something should happen to you. Yeah. You rarely see homeless people because someone in the family will take them in. Yeah.
And that's how it is in Cameroon. So kind of moving aside a little bit here.
Okay.
The big debate going on in Washington, D.C., if you can call it that, about health care and Obamacare, that sort of thing. What do you think about the health care in America today as to what you think it needs to be? Do you think healthcare is adequate or inadequate across the board, generally speaking?
Well, generally speaking, I think everybody, regardless of your political affiliations, we all think that there is something really broken about the healthcare system. The problem we're having is how to fix it.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So there is obviously a very big difference between people who think that healthcare is a right and other people think that healthcare is something you have to earn.
What do you think? Do you think give me a couple of reasons why you think the healthcare system is broken?
For
Or
one
do you
thing,
see any?
well, people who are underinsured, you know, you pay for insurance all the time. That's a big one. You pay for if you pay your insurance company, and you get to the hospital and find that so many things are not covered, or your deductible is so high that you go bankrupt.
Yeah.
That's really sucky. That sucks.
Sucky, what happens? Is that from Cameroon?
Actually,
I
no.
agree with you. So what do we need to do to fix that?
Oh, that is a huge debate that's going on, and to be honest with you, I'm going to let the experts handle that one.
Yeah.
Because I just want that when people come into the hospital, they are not worried about paying the bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's a way to make that happen, even if it's with everybody getting their own individual private insurance or whatever, as long as that's covered, I'm okay.
Okay, I'm going to say something that you may not agree with.
Okay.
I think what's wrong is that when we have business and profit involved in the healthcare situation, then healthcare is second. It's by the wayside, because then it's the healthcare business. For me, the insurance companies should not be involved, only if they're subordinate to justice and caring for human beings. There's successful healthcare, much more successful than the U.S.'s healthcare, and many, many countries in the industrialized world or developed world. And there's no reason we should be struggling with caring for our citizens. See, I got on my soapbox there.
Oh no, I enjoy listening to other people's opinions. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what brought you to that conclusion?
From the reports and the people I listen to and the publications I take and the organizations I belong to and my own personal experience. There's lots of stories around that too. I'm old enough for Medicare, and yet I'm still having to pay some copay. Never mind, let's not go there. Let's continue on with the show.
But you're absolutely right, though. Nursing is, in the healthcare industry, so it is what you're going through are the things that we come across while we do our job. So, and if you pay for Medicare, why should you have to have any expenses outside of pocket?
Because somebody's involved in wanting to make some money out of it.
Oh.
Money is the root of all evil. So maybe we should take a break and then go into the second half of the show where we talk about obesity and related subjects. Okay, can we take a break, Mr. E.R.? We're back, and thank you for staying tuned. We're going to have an equally interesting second half with Sonia. I'm having a delightful time. And I met you at Portland Community Media in Portland, under the studio, and there were a couple of people hanging around you, and somebody says, "You got to have her on your show, you got to have her on your show." And just by the way you look, I says, "I got to have her on my show."
Oh my God.
Because you're a beautiful woman.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
And then talking to you, learning how smart you are and what your passions are, caring for fellow human beings as mine are. And then I found, hey, so anyhow, here you are. For you viewers who missed the opening of the show, Conversations with Dr. Don, that you're watching now, is an ongoing series of one-hour standalone talk shows where I interview interesting people like most of you out there about who you are as unique, one-of-a-kind individuals, and whatever else is going on in your life. We're going to talk now about obesity and treatment options. And I'm having a hard time because I just had some dental work done and I keep biting the inside of my mouth. Can you fix that for me?
I wish I was a dentist.
Thank you. So let's, I have a few questions that to kind of break the ice here.
Okay.
What is obesity? It's in the title of the show. What is obesity?
So obesity is pretty much a medical condition where your body accumulates excess fat, in the simplest of terms. That's what obesity is. Now the National Health, the National
Institute of Health?
Institute of Health, you knew where I was going with that. The NIH and the World Health Organization use the basic your body mass index to define where you are in terms of obesity.
BMI.
Yeah, your BMI, exactly. So your BMI defines if your weight is normal, if you're overweight, obese, or morbidly obese. So
even morbidly obese, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah. So if your BMI is, say, with between 25 and 29.9, you are considered overweight. Now, if it's greater than 30, that's when you fall into the obesity category. And when it goes beyond 40, then they consider you morbidly obese. Or if, say, you were overweight and your weight was interfering with your health, or it was interfering with your everyday activities, then you may fall under morbid obesity, even though you don't, your BMI is no greater than 40%.
What would be an ideal BMI for a person?
Well, it'll have to be less than 25.
Less than 25?
Yeah. So like between 18 to 25.9, I believe.
What kind of a BMI number would you have if you were anorexic?
Way less than that. Way less than that. And to calculate, in case anybody at home was interested in calculating their BMI, since that's what we use, to calculate your BMI, all you have to do is just, divide your weight by your height, and you'll know where you fall. Divide
your weight by your height. You've also got some charts here that you're going to be showing different stuff at different times, and whenever you want to show something, why just hold it up and say, "Shut up, Dr. Don."
Yeah, I thought this was an interesting picture because it kind of shows you the different sizes when someone is BMI is normal, when they're overweight, when they're obese or severely obese. Can you see it?
Yeah, we'll move this cup over a little bit so when you show something up.
Yeah.
No, it's mine.
Then I have an interesting picture I wanted to show you just because we're talking about obesity. It's talking about the trends that has been going on. And regardless of if you believe in evolution or not, or if I just thought it was interesting that we came from there and this is where we're headed. Isn't that terrible?
It's sad.
It really is very sad.
And he got to be that way because of what he was ingesting, what he was eating.
He's still holding it as he's walking
along. Oh God, I didn't see it.
So yeah,
McDonald's up.
This one has a tool. He's going hunting, and he just has a soda.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how we get to be so overweight and obese.
Eating has a lot to do with it.
So shall I ask you the next question?
Absolutely.
Is there a genetic component to obesity? Are we certain individuals have a tendency to be obese and others don't? Is that in our genes to any extent?
Yeah, absolutely. You hit that nail on the head. Obesity, genetics is one of the factors that, how can I say this? Genetics does account for people being obese. There are others. So there is a study that was actually done, and they followed some adopted children to adulthood.
Yes.
You have, and what they found that was that genetics had more to do with them gaining weight. Those who did gain weight, genetics had more to do with them being obese as adults than where they were living. So if the biological mother was obese, there's a 75% chance that they would be obese as an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if they were thin, there's a 75% chance that they would be thin. Isn't that interesting?
How sad. You know, in my wandering around shopping and like that, and occasionally I'll see a child, a 5 or 6 year old, and obviously they're even obese at that age, are very fat. And I'm thinking, 20 years from now, what's this poor child going to be like, not having known a normal body size or weight through their entire life?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really sad. And the thing about it too is that part of that too is environment, which is another thing that is another cause of obesity. What you eat when you're at home. We tend to go for what's fast and quick and easy, and it doesn't matter if it's just high caloric food. And that affects our weight, and if we're not getting enough exercise. So if you have a sedentary lifestyle, sit in front of the TV, all the time, like eating chips, and as opposed to going out for a walk, that those things do contribute. And also when we get older, as you age, your body's metabolism slows down your body, and so what ends up happening is, to be obese, you have to be ingesting more calories than you're burning, right? Mm-hmm. To get to that point. So as you're getting older, you still continue to ingest the same amount of calories, but your body's not burning it as much as it used to. So yeah, then you start gaining weight. So we have to be conscious of that as well. Yeah.
Just the other day, I had a new thought as I saw this woman in a electric wheelchair, and she was really obese. And I thought, I've seen a lot of people who can't walk in wheelchairs, and they're all big. So that brings it home to me that if you don't exercise, the calories got to go somewhere.
Exactly. It just sits there and it weighs on your body, and I'm sure we'll get to that. Oh, there are other two other factors that have been identified with regards to obesity. Some certain illnesses cause other people to be more predisposed to gaining weight. Like say, for example, if you had your thyroid wasn't acting properly, people with hypothyroidism have slower metabolism, so a lot of them tend to gain weight. Or if you're depressed, a lot of people with depressed tend to eat a lot or use food as something to comfort them, so then you tend to gain weight too that way. Or if you're on certain types of medications, like steroids.
Yes.
Steroids would cause you to gain weight. Antidepressants will cause you, some of them will cause you to gain weight too. So yeah, there are a lot of things out there that would cause obesity. Yeah.
Is there? Never mind. What is an epidemic? People have talked about epidemics in this context, and maybe it'd be useful to mention what an epidemic is.
Yeah, it's interesting that we're using it in with regards to obesity, because usually when we've heard it in the past, it's with regards to infectious diseases.
Yes.
Yeah. Basically, if there is an epidemic, it just means that there is a proliferation of some kind of disease within a certain community. So there's more incidences of it than is normal.
Yeah.
And it could be just a local community, it could be a city, a state, a country. But epidemics don't generally go beyond the borders of a country.
Sure.
Yeah, when you start adding other countries that have similar problems, which the United Nations did do, they noticed that this was a global trend. Every country, the people in every country was gaining weight, so it was declared a pandemic. Yeah, but an epidemic in our context, because we're talking within the United States.
So it's interesting how we talk about a person becoming so big rather than due to some disease, it's because of eating too much and not getting rid of the excess calories.
That's yeah. Regardless of if you're genetically predisposed to it, you really can't control that with diet and a healthy lifestyle.
Why is there an epidemic in our country, in the U.S., of obesity as compared to Japan, for example?
For example, oh yeah, that's a very good choice, because when they did do the comparison studies, before I so that, can I show this one that
Please,
shows
yes.
where we are in terms of obesity? So in 1990, can I want to be able to see, is that okay?
Can you look at the,
Right there?
now you can see it up
Okay,
there.
perfect. So it compares the trends, see how we've been rising from 1990 to 2010, whereas the one on the left, most of the obese, well, people had BMIs between like 10% and 14, or below 20% basically, were in the 1990s. And now there's a vast majority greater than 25% of the population, basically.
Just in 20 years.
Just in 20 years, we got fatter.
And why is that? Is it McDonald's or fast foods or what?
I don't want someone to sue me.
Oh, fast foods, never mind. Yeah.
Yeah, fast food has a lot to do with this.
Depression or anxiety or the psychological state of the population.
All of that.
All those factors.
All those factors, truly. Affected, like all the factors that we talked about earlier, the causes of obesity. We are more sedentary than we used to be now that we have automobiles. Yeah, and people no longer work in the fields. Well, in the 1990s, we're not working in the fields as much. But there's been this move to working in offices and stuff, so people don't get to walk to work per se, or people don't get to get up and walk around. Think about it. If you were working outside in the field, for example, it's the best one I can think of.
Sure.
You wouldn't. You're forced to work from one corner to the other, right? But if you're in the office, people tend to just sit in front of their computers and do what they need to do, and then get up and go home, or go to lunch or something. So we kind of want to encourage people to take breaks, get up, walk to, just maybe get a water from whatever.
So there is a cost to the civilizing process where we don't use these muscles in this body that people just in a short period of time that humans have been on the earth, have we been so sedentary for the most part, or not active enough?
You know, the CDC did say that the cost of hospitalization, not the cost of hospitalization, the cost of obesity is about 142 billion to the U.S. every single year. And when someone is obese, their cost of hospitalization is about $1,400 more than someone that's not. And they tend to stay longer in the hospital too, because they have more complications after surgery or and stuff. Yeah.
So I guess you've answered the next questions.
Why? What was the next question? Sorry.
Are Americans more obese than others?
Oh, that's a great one. So it's not really something that we should be that excited about, but as of this year, we're no longer the nation with the most obese people. Mexico overtook us.
There, you can read it up there.
So Mexico overtook us.
Uh-huh.
So as you can see, America is in red, and this is from the food and agricultural study that was done by the UN, and was just done recently. So Japan, which you mentioned before, people in Japan tend to walk to work, or they tend to, they are very active. They have a very active lifestyle. And they don't eat
rice
and
and
they eat
fish.
rice and fish, exactly. So their diet is very different. So they have the least percentage of people who are obese. But we had the highest up until recently when that study came out. Then it showed that Mexico overtook us. It's not really something to be proud of, because we're still, there's still a problem.
And I remember as a little kid, I'm the baby of 12 children, so my brothers and sisters always
12
had...
children?
Yeah.
One mother?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And
I'm in awe.
I remember they used to say, one sister would say to the other, "Oh, look at little so-and-so. He's so fat and so healthy." And
Oh.
Mama would always say, "Oh, you need to feed that child. Look how thin he is." The child isn't thin. It's rare to see a Creole, black-white mixture.
Mm-hmm.
A baby who isn't fat. But anyhow, that's another story.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because it just made an interesting point. In Cameroon, it's the same thing. Well, with more of influence from American television, I think people are beginning to see the ideal more as the person that's slimmer, but it's not prevalent yet. But in the culture, there, if somebody, like my father, for example, my father had a large girth, which puts you at even higher risk of a lot of the consequences of obesity. I told him he needed to lose weight, and he pretty much said that he can't do that. Then people would think he's poor.
Culture is a trip.
Yeah. It's like, this is the stomach of a tycoon, And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, Daddy. Yeah, and even women, when a woman is skinny, especially after she's married, they think the husband's not taking care of her. They want women to have some meat on them, excess meat on them, I should say.
Excess, yeah.
So
So
it's really
I think we
different.
touched on the consequences of obesity. Can you say a few more words about the consequences of obesity in our population?
Oh, absolutely. We talked about the financial cost of obesity. I would like to be able to show a little chart here.
Sure.
It was done by the Minnesota Public Health Department, and it kind of broke down. You got that? It kind of broke down the costs, the primary. This one breaks down the primary causes of death, and I just wanted to show this in the middle here. It says over 50% of deaths are from obesity-related chronic illnesses.
Wow!
Isn't that something? Yeah. So heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, those are all consequences of that. Those are all illnesses that you get if you're obese. You're very,
you're more prone to them.
Yeah, high risk for that. Yeah, and the leading cause of death in the United States, it's heart disease.
Okay.
And cancer and chronic lower illness. So you can see heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, all those illnesses that are related, that people who are obese can have.
So if you're obese, you're more likely to have those kinds of illnesses.
You're more likely to have, like we say, heart disease. And heart disease could be, like cardiomyopathy. It could be because you have increased lipids. It could be clogged arteries, so coronary artery disease, which in case would put you at very high risk for heart attacks.
Coronary artery disease.
So and hypertension, which puts you at very high risk for stroke. So and this something interesting I found out. Can I share?
Please, yes.
So men who have high blood pressure and are also obese actually have a higher risk of kidney cancer.
Really?
I know. You wouldn't. I had no idea before I was doing research into obesity and what we could do about it. Yeah, it was very interesting. I mean, there are other cancers that the general public is at risk for, like women who are postmenopausal. If they're obese, they are at risk to get breast cancer. Everybody's at risk to get colorectal cancer, esophageal cancer. I mean, it's just endometrial cancer. There's just a lot of...
so the increase in the incidence of cancer is associated with obesity.
And these are preventable.
Yeah.
These are preventable. So the preventable diseases like coronary artery disease and, your hypertension can be very controlled. I'm trying to think of what else very big one, diabetes. So the more you accumulate fat in your body, you become more at risk to your body you run the risk of your body becoming resistant to insulin. And so your blood sugar starts getting higher. And a lot of people have obesity, end up having type 2 diabetes and all its
Diabetes is an
complications.
awful disease, isn't it?
It's a very awful chronic disease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Current treatment options for obesity. What comes to mind for you?
Healthy lifestyle. I know, right? That's huge.
Yeah.
For sure. Let me just name them off the top of my head, and we can go into detail if you want.
Sure.
Okay, so obviously your eating habits would be something that you have control over, and something that you can, exercising, just a lifestyle changes that you can make. So just you have control over those. They have weight loss medications out there, and they have surgical options too for people to help people lose weight. And of course, those come with complications as well. So they are options.
So you have a preferred option for people who are normal neurotics like us?
Well, there was a study actually, I think that was done that said that it was actually a Gallup study. And what they did was interview a lot of Americans, and they found that from the people who actually did go through a weight loss program and lose weight, what they wanted to know was what worked for you. And they found that the majority of these people had some form of modification of their diet and lifestyle combined. Not just one.
And lifestyle.
Right. So they're either exercising, eating more healthy. But the general conclusion that people always have is that you should mind what you eat. I have a chart here and I'm sure people have seen this already because it's been in the news.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So this is the recommendations for what we should be eating so we stay healthy. This is the old recommendation. I wanted to show that. And this is the new one I'm going to be bringing up next. See how much more simpler that is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Obama administration, I think Michelle Obama championed this cause because she was championing, she wanted a reduction in childhood obesity, and this is one of the things that they decided to do.
She's a neat lady.
Yeah. And I thought that was so simple. It just is so complicated. The pyramid. You have to
keep
go
learning as a society, as a culture, yeah.
We do. It's constant. We have studies that tell us what works and what doesn't work. And if someone puts on my plate and says, just this portion of my plate should have fruits, and just this portion of my plate should have meat, and just, for you to have a well-balanced diet, unless you have some medical problem that prevents you from eating certain types of foods, of course.
My clock is winding down, and they're going to yell at me if we don't stop.
Oh, it's time already?
See, it flies by, doesn't it?
Fly by. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you've been a delight to talk with about
thank you.
obesity and everything else.
I really do appreciate you having me.
You betcha. Do you have any final thoughts or comments about what we've talked about, or anything else that would be of value to the viewers? You can talk to them in that camera over there.
Oh, yes. There is a lot of resource in the community. There are support systems that you could go to if you're having problems losing weight. You can always talk to a dietitian or a nutritionist if you want to figure out what's the best diet plan for me. But what we really have to do is get up and move. Like, Michelle Obama says, get up and move. We need to be more active. You need to burn more calories than you're taking in, and you have to be conscious of that.
All right. Thank you. Let's see. We're going to start winding down now. It's close to time for us to start visiting and get ready to say goodnight.
All right.
Keep those pens and pencils handy because you may want to jot down something that we'll show you in the closing credits. And thanks again for watching. I invite you to give us feedback, both positive and negative. And my director says I should tell you about public service announcements, PSA. To get my show, local broadcast schedule, go to donbaham.com, my website, and click on present day activities. My show is available on that website. And you can watch my shows on the web. You can click on donbaham.com and click on favorite links. And the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union. Without the ACLU, I think our civil liberties in America would be in more danger than they are right now. Join the ACLU. It's a wonderful organization that protects American civil liberties. And to get my shows broadcast by other stations, ask your local public access station to go to www.pegmedia.org and follow the instructions there. And we've got to end corporate personhood. Go to www.movetoamend.org. The Citizens United decision that said corporations are people, are persons, and that money is speech, and those things. We got to have a new constitutional amendment that says those things aren't true. Corporations are not persons, and money is not speech. So, do we have any? Oh, okay. I got to tell you. Thank you for watching, and remember, KFC, not that KFC, Dr. Don's KFC. Kind, friendly, and charitable. Be kind, be friendly, and be charitable. To you too. And you too. You too. Thanks again for watching. See you next time around.